Hello, my dear students. Today we are going to start Chapter 2 Traders to Rulers. The first topic which we are going to talk about is the Marathas. The Marathas were the only major power that was left outside the sphere of British control. They were not under the British control. Lord Wellesley now turned his attention towards the Marathas. He started interfering in the internal affair of the Marathas. The Maratha Empire consisted of a confederacy. Confederacy means a league or alliance. A league or alliance of five big chiefs, means the Sardars. They were the Peshwas, the Gaikwads, the Sindhyas, the Holkars, and the Bhosle. The Peshwa, they were the military and administrative head of the confederacy. They were looking after the military and administrative head. They were of the confederacy, means the league or the alliance that was based in Pune. But all of them, they were engaged in a bitter fratricidal strife. What is the meaning of fratricidal strife? That they were conflicting within the same family. There was conflict within the same family. They were unaware of the real danger which is lying ahead of them. So Wellesley had offered a subsidiary alliance. We did what is subsidiary alliance? An Indian ruler, when he is entering into a subsidiary alliance with the British forces within his territory and to pay for their maintenance. So an Indian ruler, when he is doing subsidiary alliance with the British forces, then those British forces can enter his territory and they have to pay for their maintenance. The ruler have to pay for their maintenance. So Wellesley had offered a subsidiary alliance to the Peshwa and the Scindia. But the far-sighted Nana Fadnavis had refused to fall into the trap. See, Nana Fadnavis knows that what Wellesley is up to. So he refused that I am not going to do any subsidiary alliance with you. However, on 25th October 1802, Holkar defeated the combined armies of the Peshwa and Sindhia. You know na? These were the five Sardars, means the chiefs, and they were relating to a conflict within the same family. There was conflict going on within the same family, these five big chiefs. So the Holkar, they defeated the combined army, both the army of the Peshwa also and the Sindhia also. Peshwa Bajirao II rushed into the arms of the English and in 1802 signed the subsidiary treaty of Bassein. So he went to the arms of the English, means the Britishers, and in 1802 he signed the subsidiary treaty of Bassein. It is a place of name. This is the picture of Bajirao II. The victory had been little too easy. The victory was little too easy. Even in this moment of their peril, the Maratha would not unite against their common enemy. Means that this time also the Marathas, they did not even unite against their common enemy. Peril means at this time of danger also, means serious danger they were facing, but the Marathas have not united against their common enemy. When Scindia and Bhosle fought the British, Holkar stood on the sidelines and Gaikwad gave help to the British. When these two chiefs, they were fighting with the Britishers, Holkar, they didn't participate in the fight. He was on the sideline and Gaikwad were helping the Britishers. When the Holkar took up arms, Bhosle and Scindia and nursed their wounds. So see what happened. When Holkar, they took up their arms, Bhosle and Scindia, they nursed their wounds. In the south, the British armies defeated the combined army of Scindia and Bhosle at Ayase. Asai is a village in Maharashtra. Okay, so there what happened? In the south, British armies defeated the combined armies of Scindia and Bhosle in Ayase, that is in Maharashtra, in September 1803. And at Argaon in November. So they were defeated by the Britishers. In the north, Lord Lake routed Scindia army at Laswari and occupied Aligarh. So Lord Lake, what he did? He routed Scindia army at Laswari and took the control of Aligarh, Delhi, and Agra. The Maratha allies had to sue for peace. They went to jail for peace. Both Scindia and Bhosle, they became the subsidiary allies of the company, means of the East India Company, they became the subsidiary allies. They ceded part, means to give up their power of their territory to the Britishers. Ceded means to give up their power or control, their territory to the Britishers. Admit Britishers into their residence of the court, promised not to employ any Europeans without British approval. So these were the rules they followed there. They admitted Britishers in their residence of the court. They promised that we will not employ any Europeans without the Britishers' approval. They controlled power over Odisha and the territories between Ganga and Yamuna, the Britishers. They gained Odisha, Ganga and Yamuna. Between how many territories are coming in between the Ganga and Yamuna? All the territories were occupied by the Britishers. The Peshwa was a disgruntled puppet in their hands. Disgruntled means he was angry or dissatisfied, puppet in their hands. So the Anglo-Maratha War in 1782, no clear victory. Treaty of Salbai was signed at that time. Second Anglo-Maratha War, 1803 to 1805, it was fought at the different fronts. Means gain for the British. They acquired the territory of the, I told you na, Yamuna River, Agra, Delhi and Odisha. The third Anglo-Maratha War, 1817 to 1819, crushed the Maratha power and Peshwa pensioned off. You know the meaning of pensioned off? Pensioned off means if you are allowing or forcing somebody to leave their position and accept the pension instead of it. That is pensioned. They were sent to Bithor. The company gained absolute control over the areas south of the Vindhyas. Now the Wellesley turned his attention towards the Holkar. But Yashwantrao Holkar proved more than a match for the British. Holkar's ally, the Raja of Bharatpur, inflicted heavy losses on the Lake, who unsuccessfully attempted to storm his fort. So what is happening here? Wellesley, he turned his attention, now he wants Holkar. But Yashwantrao Holkar, he proved more than a match for the British. Holkar's ally, means the Raja of Bharatpur, he inflicted heavy losses on Lake, who unsuccessfully attempted to storm his fort. The people were about to storm his fort, so he inflicted heavy losses on the Lake. On the other hand, Scindia began to think of joining hands with Holkar. Scindia were thinking that let's join the hand with Holkar. The East India Company discovered that the policy of expansion through war was proving costly because they are doing war, they are using arms, men have been died, so it was reducing their profit day by day. So directors of the East India Company felt the time that they have to come to check further expansion, to put an end to the expenditure, that there should be no expenditure on the war and to consolidate the British gain in India. Okay, they want to consolidate the British gains in India. They want the further expansion, but without incurring any extra cost. Wellesley was recalled from India and the company made peace with Holkar in January 1806. Wellesley, he was recalled from India and the company made a peace with Holkar in January 1806 by the Treaty of Raighat, giving back to Holkar the great part of his territory. They were giving Holkar the great part of his territory. Now the expansion of Lord Hastings. The Second Anglo-Maratha War had shattered the power of Maratha chiefs. Now the Marathas, they were about to end. Their power were ending. Okay, he crushed their power. But they made a desperate attempt to regain their independence in 1817. Marathas, they want to regain their independence. They did a desperate attempt for that. The Peshwa attacked the British Residency at Pune in November 1817. The Peshwa attacked the British Residency at Pune, I told you. Appa Sahib attacked the residency of Nagpur, and Madhav Rao Holkar made preparations for the war. So Appa Sahib, he attacked the residency at Nagpur. Peshwa, he attacked the residency at Pune in November 1817, and Holkar, Madhav Rao Holkar, was preparing for the war. The Governor General, Lord Hastings, he compelled Scindia to accept the British suzerainty. Kindly underline this word and write the meaning. Suzerainty, a dominant state of controlling foreign relative of a state but allowing its authority in internal affairs. Means a place where the dominant control of the foreign state is there, and they are allowing those foreign relatives that they can interfere in their internal affairs also. So that was suzerainty. They defeated the armies of the Peshwa, Bhosle and Holkar. The Peshwa, he was dethroned. He was thrown out of their throne, and their independence in pensioned off to Bithur. Pensioned off means they were forced to leave the position and accept pension instead of it to Bithur near Kanpur. Holkar and Bhosle, they are separate the subsidiary alliance. The Rajputana states, they had been dominated by Scindia and Holkar for several decades. After the downfall of the Marathas, they lacked the energy to reassert, to regain their power, their independence again, and accepted the supremacy of the Britishers, that Britishers have the ultimate power. This is the picture of Lord Hastings. By 1818, the entire Indian subcontinent except Punjab and Sindh, they have been brought under British control. It was ruled directly by the British and rest of the Indian rulers over whom the British exercised their paramount power, their supreme powers. So what is happening? Except Punjab and Sindh, they had been brought under British control, all the Indian subcontinent. Part of it was ruled by the British and the rest by the Indian rulers. But on the Indian rulers, the British were exercising their power. These states had no armed forces of their own. They have to pay heavily taxes, heavily for the British forces to maintain them, to control them in their territories, to station them. Under Lord Hastings in 1813 to 23, a policy of paramountcy was begun, means the supreme power, the ultimate power. The company claimed that its authority was paramount, means or supreme in India, that East India Company said that we are having supreme power in India. The company was henceforth justified in annexing means adding or threatening to conquer any Indian kingdom, that we can conquer any Indian kingdom by threatening them. This policy became the guiding principle of the British rule in the following period. This policy of paramountcy, that we are the supreme power, the ultimate power, this became the guiding principles of the British rule in that following period. The conquest of Sindh. It occurred because of the growing Anglo-Russian rivalry in Europe and Asia. Europe and Asia, they were having disputes with each other, rivalry was there. The British feared that Russia might attack India through Afghanistan or Persia. To counter Russia, it thought to increase its influence in Afghanistan. So the Britishers, they started influencing Afghanistan and Persia. They felt that this policy could be successful pursue only if Sindh was brought under British control. That the policy will be successful if the Sindh it is brought under the British control. The roads of the Sindh, it was opened for the British trade by a treaty signed, an agreement signed in 1832, and the chiefs of the Sindh called Amirs. The chief of the Sindh, they called them Amirs. They were made to sign a subsidiary treaty in 1839. They signed a subsidiary treaty, subsidiary alliance in 1839. In spite of assurance, guarantee that its territorial integrity, means the honesty towards or moral principle towards the territory, it would be respected. Sindh was added, means it was annexed in 1843 by Sir Charles Napier. Sir Charles Napier, he annexed Sindh in the British control, under the British control in 1840. The conquest of Punjab. The death of Maharaja Ranjit Singh in June the 1839 It was followed by political instability in Punjab. When Maharaja Ranjit Singh died in June 1839, political instability came in Punjab. The British took across the Satluj, even though they had signed a treaty of perpetual friendship, means never-ending friendship, with Ranjit Singh in 1809. But they look across the Satluj, even they had signed a treaty with Ranjit Singh in 1809. The first Anglo-Sikh War, it broke out when under some provocation means when you are making someone angry deliberately. So it broke out under some provocation. The Sikh army crossed the Satluj. The British defeated the Sikh, occupied the Lahore and signed a treaty. They defeated the Sikhs, occupied the Lahore and they set them to sign a treaty, an agreement. The treaty recognized Dalip Singh. He was son of Ranjit Singh. He became the king and his mother Rani Jindan as regent. Regent is a person who governs the kingdom in the absence of the power. If nobody is there to rule, then the Rani Jindan will work as a regent. Regent means a person who governs the kingdom in the absence of the sovereign, in the absence of the power. Beside paying huge taxes, means huge war indemnity. Indemnity means security. The Sikh had to cede, had to give up their power, many of their territories, including Kashmir. So Sikh have to give up. Cede means to give up their many territories, including Kashmir. The British soon accused Rani Jindan of anti-British activities and sent her into exile. So British, they accused the Rani Jindan of the anti-British activities and they sent Rani Jindan into the exile. What is the meaning of the word exile? They have been barred or expelled from the country. Okay? For any political reasons or for as a way of punishment. Then they are sending those persons from to another country. That is exile, went to exile. The entire Sikh state rose in revolt under Mulraj, the governor of Multan. The Second Anglo-Sikh War, it broke out when Governor-General Lord Dalhousie declared war on the Sikh. The Sikh were defeated and the Punjab was annexed by the British in 1849. It was added by the British in 1849 in their territory. Dalip Singh, he was pensioned off and sent to England. Pensioned off means forced to leave his position and accept the pension, and he was sent to England. This is the picture of Maharaja Ranjit Singh. Doctrine of lapse. Lord Dalhousie, he came to India as a Governor General in 1848. He was determined to extend direct British rule over as large area as possible. The chief instrument through which Lord Dalhousie he implemented his policy of adding the territories, it was the doctrine of lapse. Under this doctrine means under this principle, when the ruler of a protected state died without a natural heir. Heir means a person after the death of whom the property is being given. That is heir. If without the protected state a person died without a natural heir, his state was not to pass on to an adopted heir as sanctioned by age-old tradition of the country. So under this principle, this doctrine, when a ruler of protected state died without a natural heir, they are not having anybody to look after their kingdom, their heir is not there. The state will not pass on to an adopted heir. An adopted heir will not work. The natural heir, the legal heir, by birth, by bloodline, the heir should be there, as sanctioned by age-old tradition of the country. Instead, if they are not having the natural heir, it was to be annexed to British India. Then that territory will be added to British India, unless the adoption had been clearly approved by the British authority. If an adopted heir is there, then that should be approved by the British authorities. Many states were added through this doctrine, this principle. Satara in 1848, Sambhalpur in 1850, Udaipur 1852, Nagpur 1853 and Jhansi in 1854. This is the picture of Lord Dalhousie. He was keen on annexing the kingdom of Oudh, but the task presented certain difficulties. He wanted to add the kingdom of Oudh, but certain difficulties came up. The Nawab of Oudh had many hires and could not be covered by the doctrine of lapse. He was having many natural hires, the Nawab of Oudh. So this doctrine is not applicable on him. Finally, this Lord Dalhousie hit upon the idea of obliged by the duty to protect the people of Awadh. Oblige means responsible, responsible towards the duty that they can protect the people of Awadh. Nawab Wajid Ali Shah, he was accused of having misgoverned, that you are not ruling the country properly, you are misgoverning your state and refusing to introduce new changes. Reforms means new changes you are not bringing into your state. He was accused of these things. His state was therefore annexed in 1856. It was annexed in 1856 and enraged by the humiliating way. He was very angry by the humiliating way. The Nawab was deposed, means removed from his post suddenly. The people of Awadh, they joined the Great Revolt in 1857. Now the new administration. Warren Hastings, he came to the office at a time when the East India Company had acquired power not only in Bengal but in Bombay, Madras also. During 1773 to 1785, the Warren Hastings was Governor General of Bengal. He was Governor General of Bengal. At first Governor General, he introduced some administrative reform. Reform means the changes. British territories were divided into 3 administrative units. Okay, 3 administrative units. The British presidency was divided and they named it presidencies. The territories were divided into 3 administrative units and it was known as presidencies. These presidencies were Bombay, Bengal, Madras. Each presidency has a governor to rule over. Okay, each presidency was ruled by a governor. The supreme head of the administration, who was the head? Governor General. From 1772, a new judicial system was established. A new judiciary, or I should say judicial system, was established. Each district had 2 courts. 2 courts were established. A civil court, that is Diwani Adalat, and a criminal court, Faujdari Adalat. European district collectors, they presided over these civil court. European district collector, they look after the civil courts. They were assisted by Maulvis, Hindu Pandits, who interpreted Indian laws. The criminal courts, what we call criminal courts, the Faujdari courts. The criminal courts were still under a Qazi and a Mufti, but under overall supervision of the collector. They were all under the supervision of the collector. To bring about uniformity, 11 Pandits were asked to compile a digest of Hindu law in 1775. 11 Pandits, they were asked to compile a digest of all the Hindus' law. Okay. N.B. Halhed translated this digest into English. This Hindus' laws, it was digested into English. Here the digest word doesn't mean to eat. Okay. Kindly understand it. Here the digest word generally means to eat. Here the digest word doesn't mean to eat. Here the digest means to understand by period of reflection. Okay, to understand something. The summary, you can say, for what we are getting. So they interpreted those in Hindus' law into English. 1778, a code of Muslim law, it was compiled. Under the Regulation Act 1773, a Supreme Court was set up. New Supreme Court. Court of Appeal called Sardar Nizamat Adalat was also established at Calcutta. The most important figure was the collector. Indian district was the collector. Collector main job is to collect the revenue, to collect the taxes, to maintain the law and order in the district. To help him in maintaining law and order, he took the help of judges. The collector took the help of judges in maintaining law and order. Police officers, darogas. His office, the collectorate, became the center of power and patronage that replaced previous holders of the authority. The collectorate, he became the center of the power, became in the center of the power, and it was patronage that replaced the previous holders of the authority. Previously, the power was holded by someone else. Now the collector is having all the powers. Okay, who is having all the powers? The collector of the state. Okay, he was given all the power to control everything. That is patronage, the power to control. The company army, the British army fulfilled four important functions. First, it was the instrument through which the Indian powers were conquered. They were taking control of the Indian powers. Second, it defended the British Empire from foreign rivals. Okay. Third, it safeguarded British supremacy, that British having the ultimate power from the threat of internal revolt. They were safeguarding that British supremacy. It was the chief instrument for extending and defending the British Empire in Asia and Africa. So it was the main instrument that they can extend the British Empire and defend the British Empire in Asia and Africa. The bulk of company's army that consisted of Indian soldiers in 1857, the strength of army of India was 3,11,400, out of which 2,65,900 were Indians. In 1856, only 3 Indians in the army, salary of rupees 300 per month. The highest Indian officer was Subedar. See their salary. In 1856, 3 Indians in the army, they received a salary of 300 rupees per month. The highest Indian officer, he was Subedar. A large number of Indian troops, means the armies, were employed as British troops. So Indian people, they went to British troops, British army. They were far too expensive. Okay. So a large number of Indian troops were employed as a British troops. So Indian people, they said that you being into the British army, because the British people, they were too costly to them, they were too expensive. The Indians were working in very cheap, you can say. In very less amount they were working for the Britishers. The population of Britain was far too small to provide the large soldiery needed for the conquest of India. So the population of Britain, it was very small, because large soldiery need for conquest of India, because you need a very large amount of soldiers to conquer India. As the countermeasure, the army was officered entirely by the British officials. The army was under the control of all the British officials, and certain numbers of British troops were maintained to keep Indian soldiers under control. So British troops were also appointed, that whoever the Indian soldiers or troops have been appointed into the British one, they should be taken care of. They should be under the British control only. The army helped the company to protect the trade, defend the empire, expand the territory, and received a put down to internal rebellions, that there should be no revolt internally. The army consisted of British officials and Indian sepoys. Sepoys means sipahi. The Indian sepoys, sipahi, they remained loyal to their master, who paid them well. The army was well equipped and trained. That is why such a small number of British soldiers, they could conquer and hold on to India, because Britishers were not large in number. So the small number of British soldiers, they can conquer India onto India for so long, because the Indians were on their side. They were working for the Britishers, who were paying them well. Warfare technology changed. In 1820, the warfare technology changed. The reason was that the British Empire was busy in fighting in Burma, Afghanistan, and Egypt, where soldiers, they were armed with muskets and matchlocks. Generally, beta, your musket is a long, light gun, okay, which is being fired from the soldier. Means from the shoulder it is being fired. That is your musket. It is a long fire gun that is being fired with the help of the shoulder. Next is your matchlocks. Matchlocks were, it was a type of gun with a lock, in which a piece or a cord is being ignited with a powder. It is being lighted with a powder. You have to fire it. It was a kind of a firearm. So, what is a matchlock? A matchlock is a gun with a lock in which it is a piece or a cord that is to be ignited. Ignited means lighted, because that lights the powder in the gun and that helps in the firing. The soldiers had to keep pace with changing military requirement. In the 19th century, British began to develop a uniform military code. Okay, the soldiers were subject to European style training, were given to them drills, discipline. It created problems since caste and community feelings were ignored in building of force of professional soldiers. So the soldiers, they were adopted that European style training, drill, discipline that created problems since caste and community feelings, they were ignored. A force of professional soldiers. They were building a force of professional soldiers. The East India Company became a virtual ruler of India. The arrival of new steam engine, because they Britishers brought steam engine in 19th century, it encouraged this process. Steamships reduced the journey time, now enabling Britishers and their families, they can come to far off India, country like India. Here the chapter is finished. See, this is the map of India in 1797 and in 1857. The areas which are purple in color, this bluish in color, these are the areas not under British rule. In 1797, only these were the areas under the British rule. That is light in color. Okay, like your Lahore, Delhi, Lucknow, Kathmandu, Baroda, Pune, Goa, Mysore, Hyderabad. These were not under British control. Madras, Calcutta, Banaras, these was under the British rule in 1797. In 1857, what happened? The yellow part is under the British control and the red part is not under the British control. Yellow part, Delhi, Lahore, means your Lucknow, Banaras, Calcutta, Madras, okay, your Pune, Bombay, these were under your British control. British were ruling here. Your Mysore, Hyderabad, Goa, Kathmandu, only these were not under the British control. Okay, so this map we are going to do in the class also. This was the expansion of British territorial power in India from 1797 to 1857. Thank you and have a nice day ahead.